let's start off our circles with going over some vocabulary. Most of this you've heard before, but it's good to get a refresher. And instead of just listing out a bunch of words and writing a bunch of more words, I've drawn a picture here with a bunch of things that we're going to label and define. But first I am going to put up here at the top our definition of a circle. So a circle is defined as a set of points. So all of these that make up this line that goes around in the circle is a point. Equidistant, and that just means the same distance from a given point, and that point is the center. So each of these points that make up the circle are all the same distance from the center point. And where's the center? That is right here. Generally, our circles, let's move this up, are labeled with one capital letter. So this one, if I put a P here, then this would be circle P. We would call this circle P. All right, let's look at some other lines. We have this line that goes from the center to the outside. From the center to the outside, we know that one is the radius. And this is a segment with endpoints at the center and on the circle. So radius is a segment with endpoints at the center and on the circle. And we know our diameter is what we call a chord, which I'll define that in a second for you, that passes through the center. So what's a chord? A chord is something like this. This is what we call a chord. And this is a segment with endpoints on the circle. So you see how it's different than the radius? The radius has an endpoint at the center and on the circle. The chord has both endpoints on the circle. So that's why our diameter is a chord, because this endpoint here and this endpoint here are both on the circle. The diameter is special because it actually passes through, goes straight through that center point. This line right here that is outside the circle, but you see it touches the circle, is called a tangent. And this is a line that intersects the circle at one place or point. And we call that point, the point where it intersects, we call that the point of tangency. So that point where it hits that circle, that's the point of tangency. That's where the tangent and circle meet. Makes sense, right? Another line is this one right here. This chord, if it kept going outside the circle, then that one would be called a secant. And that would be a line that intersects at two places. So see, the tangent just intersects at that one point, but the secant crosses the circle twice. All right, let's look at a couple more things. We have some arcs we can talk about. So any lace on the circle, that's called an arc. And we've got places like this arc. And this would be a minor arc. And this is any arc with a measure of less than 180 degrees. So a minor arc has less than 180 degrees. And side note for later, we are going to use 2 letters to name. So let me show you. If this was point A and this one was point B, then we would have arc AB. Okay. We have another arc, and that would be something like this, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around to here. And if we've got our minor arc, this would be our major arc. And you could probably guess, this is going to have a measure of greater than 100 degrees. And we're going to use 3 letters to name that. So like if this was A, and this one was D, and this one over here was E, then this would be arc A, D, E. Another thing when you're naming, just like when we're naming lines, when we're naming our arcs, you're going to use, for the minor arcs, you're going to use just the 2 letters that are the ending. You're looking for what are the end points of the arc. And those have to be your last 2 letters you're using to name it. All right. One more thing we're going to end up talking about is our angles. So an angle here is called a central angle. And this is called a central angle because where is this? This is the center. So this is an angle at the vertex, well, with the vertex at the center. So if we've got the angle, we're talking about the angle at the center, any kind of angle at the center is a central angle. And then I said one more thing, but this is one more thing. Semicircle. You know what a semicircle is? Semicircle. This is defined as an arc with endpoints on the diameter, or it's half of our circle, and this is always going to be 180 degrees. So our minor arcs under 180, major over 180, semicircle always 180. And that means that our full circle, just got to write this right down here, full circle measure is 360 degrees. All right, that's all the vocabulary that we're going to talk about on circles for right now. So make sure you know where they're at on the circle and how they're defined and how to name them.